Welcome back. Justin Trudeau recommending the appointment of 7 new senators. Now, this is the first time we've seen appointments to the scandal-plagued upper chamber in 3 years. With more on this, CTV News political analyst Scott Reid joining us today from downtown Toronto. Okay, Scott, we want you to clear one thing up here. These are senators who are not going to be Liberal because there are no Liberal senators anymore, but Peter Harder is going to be the Liberal government Senate leader. Why?
Well, because the government has to get legislation through the upper chamber, and they've put themselves in a very tricky spot politically, in the sense that the Prime Minister said, look, all the people who were appointed as Liberals in the past, they're no longer part of our caucus. They don't come to our caucus meetings. And in turn, a lot of them have said, well, then we're not necessarily going to be counted on to play ball when it comes to passing legislation. He needs someone in the upper house to be a sort of representative for the government to say, this is what we would like to see in terms of legislative priorities, what we want to see passed first and second, and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, Peter Harder, with a long time of experience in government, makes, I guess, good sense in that.
All right. And is Peter Harder the man for the job?
Oh, yes. I've had the opportunity to work with Peter a long time ago. Back in my government days, he was Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, and he was our Sherpa for all G8 trips. So he's an extraordinarily capable guy. He's been around Parliament Hill literally for 35 years. I think that, you know, you're not going to see a lot of detractors when it comes to Peter's talents and Peter's capabilities.
All right. Who else stands out on this list of 7 for you?
Well, I think overall the watchword here is merit. Remember, when the Prime Minister said we're going to no longer appoint senators in the traditional fashion, we want an advisory board, we want to move away from sort of partisan, bagmen, all the traditional sort of categories of folks. They've tried to place the emphasis on diversity, merit, really turn it into a chamber that celebrates the very best and the brightest. That's what they're trying to achieve. So in that respect, I think, you know, one of the people that really jumps out to me is Murray Sinclair, who just, you know, recently co-chaired the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, well-known, well-respected Aboriginal leader across the country. It's that sort of appointment that I think you're going to see more and more of from this government. You're going to see less and less of party hacks. And some people will say, well, you know, Peter Harder, the transition team for Justin Trudeau. That's true, but his background was as a non-affiliated public servant for years and years. You're just not going to see, if you're one of those folks that toiled away in a as a poll captain somewhere and figured, like, now that the Liberal government's in place, your turn's going to come up, you're going to get the cushy job. Sorry, you're out of luck. It ain't happening no more.
And I don't think it's going to be a cushy job for much longer. Murray Sinclair, as you mentioned, is a telling appointee here, because it sort of goes with the agenda of Aboriginal rights and wanting to move that forward. But there's also a range of experience here: education, diversity, athlete, justice. Anybody else on that list that you sort of immediately went, yeah, that's the right person, good choice?
Chantal Petitclerc, I mean, I don't think you're going to see a lot of critics coming from the world of sports, a Quebecer, you know, someone that, you know, can sort of stir that sense of national pride. And I think if you take a look at the, you know, the broad cross-section of these appointments, you're going to find it very difficult. The trick here is this: if you're working in the Prime Minister's office, you need to appoint people who are bulletproof, that critics can't come forward and say, well, that person is obviously not qualified. The old trick used to be this: you'd appoint 5 people, and you'd throw one high-profile, really well-respected person in, and then you'd stick in, you know, 4 flunkies. That's no longer the case. Each one of these people will you be able to defend on merit. Now, is it going to fundamentally change the complexion and the tone of the Senate? I don't know. Is it going to elevate the notion of the Senate in the minds of Canadians? I think that's a tall order. I mean, we're still going to see the sentencing of, you know, Senator Mike Duffy coming. I think they've got a lot of bruises to overcome before people are going to say, wow, I can really be proud of that Senate. Look how great it's chock full of good people.
All right. CTV News political analyst Scott Reid joining us from downtown Toronto today. Scott, thanks for that.
Thanks.
Have a good weekend.
You too.